So, welcome back, students, to our third session of the day. And our resource person, Dr. Pooja Rani, is already here. May I request Miss Akriti? Akriti, can you switch on your video? And Akriti, maybe please start the
Yes,
formal
ma'am.
introduction, formal session, please, formally. Yeah. Akriti, over to you.
So, a very good evening. Yes, ma'am. A very good evening to everyone present for this lecture. I, Akriti Das, member of Forum for Democracy, welcome you all to the second session of the seventh day of the certificate course on gender studies, non-governmental trust, in collaboration with Department of Political Science and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Mata Sundari College, Delhi University. Today's lecture is divided into two segments. The first segment is regarding gender, power, and authority. Power dynamics has major influence in constructing societies. Therefore, to build societies with the pillars of justice, it is important to reduce the gender gap, increase representation of the minority groups, and simultaneously promote equality among all. To build a better understanding of these issues, today's lecture will be delivered by our expert, Dr. Pooja Rani ma'am. Dr. Pooja Rani ma'am has been teaching in the Department of Political Science, Gargi College, University of Delhi since July 2006. She specializes in teaching political theory, Western political thought, conflict resolution, and peace building. Her research interests include gender, land rights, political representation, justice, and labor. Her doctoral research is on the issue of women land rights, and her MPhil is on the issue of women's empowerment through political representation at the grassroots level. She has presented papers on these issues in several national and international conferences and has also contributed to chapters in edited books published in research journals and news dailies. She has been a contributor to the syllabus development of the University of Delhi and other universities. Before I formally invite our resource person, I will like to request to our students to kindly maintain the decorum of the session. And on that note, I request Dr. Pooja Rani ma'am to deliver her lecture. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Akriti. Okay, first of all, I think I will thank Dr. Suchi Bharti, and she's a course director of the Forum for Democracy, giving me a space and to share my views on gender power and authority. And also, it's a wonderful initiative taken by Department of Political Science, Mata Sundari College, and IQSE to have this online course on the gender studies. And obviously, I also it is very good that students are doing this course, because gender course are very, students should understand what exactly gender issue is. So first I will be, let me just tell you how I will structure. Achha, okay, just tell me, am I audible? Am I, my voice is clear?
Yes, ma'am. It's definitely clear.
Okay, and do you want my video should be on? Because sometimes if the video is on, clarity is not there. So if you tell me, I can switch it on, or if you tell me.
Ma'am, if it is fine by you, if the audio clarity is still there, then it's completely fine. We can request you
The
to
audio clarity is
leave
fine and the
the.
video clarity is also fine. In case in future there's anything, then we can take a call.
Okay,
But right
okay,
now,
thank
we
you.
go ahead like this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Oh, I also have to say hello to Lokesh, because we are colleagues and we know each other. Okay. Hi, Lokesh. Good to see you. Okay. We'll continue then. So I will be speaking on gender, power and authority, their relationship, and also we'll discuss different mechanisms and to break the gender notion of power and authority. Okay, and I think I just want to ask, there are mostly political science students in this, or there are from different discipline also?
Ma'am, there are mostly political science students, definitely, but we have a good representation of students from different disciplines. Like we also have people from literature, commerce, Hindi, literature, and other backgrounds. So it's a mixed background, but definitely we have more weightage, more students from political science.
Good. Okay, good. Because I, being from political science, I thought there are, and I teach Western philosophy. So I thought I can connect more with the political science. Obviously, I want to connect with the other. Gender is an issue of everybody. Okay, I will continue with that. Okay, so let me just start with first the gender, power, and authority. And so, how do we look at this concept? Gender, power, and authority. Traditionally, power and authority has been understood as a political concept which is located in the arena of public rather than the arena of private life. So, this political notion of power and authority was understood as an activity that takes place within a public sphere of government, institutions, political parties, etc. So, it is important to note that the notion of politicals since the ancient times has always been gendered. By gendered, I mean to say that it has always been associated with one sex, that is male. The other sex, that is female, has been relegated to be understood as a subject which is confined within the private sphere. So there is always this dichotomy of private sphere and the public sphere. And woman has always been relegated into the private sphere. That is, she has been equated with family, and therefore it is a non-political sphere. So it is only in the mid 20th century that this notion of power and the political is by the feminist movement, but also ways to challenge and overthrow the system. Since then, feminism has made a profound and lasting impact on power and authority and questioned the gendered notion of power and authority by bringing the question of gender at the forefront in the analysis of political. Let me give you a quote by Suzanne Okin in his work in 1979, where she observed, and I'd start with the quote, that the great tradition of political philosophy consists generally speaking of writing by men for men and about men. So just look at how the entire political philosophy has been looked into. So it is at this point I take you back to the classical philosophers on whom the analysis of political draws a lot even in the modern times. So those two philosophers, I want to take the two ancient and the classical philosopher. One is Plato and Aristotle. And so if you look at the philosopher like Plato, how he has looked at the question of gender, because he always considered women as very inferior and they are physically inferior. And women are defined by their gender, which enables them to bear children. And he also said that when we read his book, Republic, he said that women of the guardian class are indeed to be given the same education, okay, same education as men, but they will become only the companion of their guardian husband. So just look at how the concept of woman has been dealt in the Republic. So in comparison, if you look at Aristotle, the irony is Aristotle is the father of political science, but in comparison, Aristotle's views on women is much conservative. So Aristotle believed women were inferior to men, and in politics, the book which he has written, Aristotle states as regard the sex, the male is by nature superior and the female inferior. The male will be the ruler and the female the subject. So women does not have that rational faculty, so they cannot participate in the affairs of the state. So what we see in this, the two philosophers, what they are trying to say, and what when we look at this philosophical foundation, uh, uh, mostly Aristotle remarks on women were generally regarded as the all-time low of his philosophy. His remarks on women, arguments for the inferiority of women, kind and political subordination of women to at men at the home and in the society. So these two classical philosophers have looked at women mostly in the gender. Now, if we look after continuation of the philosophical foundation, if you see that this shows how there was a neglect of women in the discourse of political. Okay, so when there was this neglect was there, so from if you look at the feminist perspective, they always talk about that this traditional analysis of political had kept the civil and the legal status of women was unworthy of the theoretical statement. Means somewhere their space was not given at the theoretical when we talk about this political theory. So thus they began to approach the idea of political through gender centered analysis. Now that was basically a landmark whenever we look at the entire feminist movement, how they try to question that where is the role of gender, how that analysis was lacking. And so they made a gender a necessary and unavoidable path to understand uh, a psychology of power and authority in politics. So this was basically a landmark when they tried to understand the psychology of power. जब power है तो उसको they want to understand why in this power discourse, why in this political discourse gender gap was there. So gender affects how power is represented, how it is reinforced when people exercise their voice. So it is basically happening in a very overt and very subtle way. So thus understanding gender is a path to understand the psychology of power in politics. Okay, and you know that how the power in politics govern, because we know that that unequal distribution of power is basically intimately entangled with gender. So in that continuation, looking at this background, I will take these three assumptions and let's try to understand these three assumptions, and then we will try to look at how these three assumptions or how these three assumptions will have some through resolution we will try to see, and through different mechanisms we will try to understand how we can solve this. Okay, so let me start with the first assumption that what is most relevant about men and women in politics is the social construction of gender, rather than the biological central tendencies that differentiate between men and women. So gender refers to the meaning that individuals and societies ascribe to males and females. You all are aware of it, what basically how to define the concept of sex and gender. So gender is basically a sorting mechanism used by law, policy, institutional process, and social custom to differentiate among people and place them in different positions, which in turn creates different political interests, preferences, responses, and style. So these social and institutional practices create this psychological meanings, categories, and expectation. So I hope you understand what is the first assumption mean, that how gender, through gender, basically the entire society has been created by, and according to that, the institution, the law, they all try to govern according to that. Okay. So secondly, the second assumption can be, so this social construction matter because it implicates the distribution and exercise of resources. So what type of resources? एक तरफ हम जेंडर देख रहे हैं और उसके बाद हम देख रहे हैं यही जेंडर क्या कर रहा है, हमारे जो संसाधन है उसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करने की भी बात करता है. तो what type of resources they are talking about? So they are talking about the material resources, they are talking about the social resources, they are talking about the psychological resources. So therefore gender is specifically a very assorting mechanism that places people on different rungs of society's hierarchy. So यही जो एक resources है, ये resources distribution के तरह के द्वारा ही हम देखते हैं कि समाज में हमारे society के hierarchy भी create होते हैं. Okay, so now in looking at these two assumptions, so we can say that in other words, this way we can implicate power and influence. Who have the power, who have the more influence, who have the more capture of resources. So differences between men and women are important, and because they correlate with inequality. So power, authority, and influence are fundamental resources. Men are far more likely than women to access and use them, as you all know. So Third, what will be the third assumption? The third assumption is basically then how, to what effect, and under what circumstances gender hierarchy changes. Then the question is, it's not like that, that women, the fact that women can and do exercise power, authority, and influence more equally with men under some conditions, but not under other condition, means that not under other conditions. That means that there are gender differences, and you all know that gender differences are social and political process. Let me explain you what this third assumption means. It is basically they are trying to say it is not that there are women who have not controlled the power or who haven't exercised the power. Let me give you the example of women who have strongly controlled the power. Either it is the chief minister of one of the biggest state, we can take the Mayawati, or even the first woman prime minister of India, Indira Gandhi. So where we can say that how their unka social or political process has made them powerful, but it doesn't mean that the other women of this country are as powerful as them, because there is a gender, because it is a gender difference, or it is because the social and political construct was not so strong. Because of that, they cannot have the power and influence to control. And there are so many other examples. Recently, you all have seen this movie called uh, Gunjan Saxena, where you have seen that how that this entire, just being a woman, the other colleagues of her couldn't take the, you can say the cannot. They said that we cannot accept a command from her. So this type of power, influence, authority can be taken where we can take this type of example can be taken. Another example we can take that I just want to give my example. I remember when 2004-5, I because I'm not from Delhi, I'm from the very small town where I went to teach in the university. I hardly find there is a woman representation in that profession. But when I compare to Delhi, when I was here, I can see there are representation, at least percentage is higher. Why it is that? Obviously, because there is a social and political construction which is much better than the two of the areas. One is a Mofussil and one is the urban town. So that's where we can say that women can do exercise power and influence, but also in some condition they can do that, in some condition they cannot do that. Okay. So if these are the three assumptions, how do we find the resolution of the gendered notion of power and authority? So looking at these three assumptions, let's assume that is there any mechanism, or is there any way we can deal all this question? So what we have observed in the discussion central to the question of power and authority is the issue that control over resources, and the resources can be understood in three dimensions. One is economic, one is social, and one is political. So with the women movement, as we all know that when it was getting stronger, what we have witnessed that the state was forced to address some of the issues by inventing some formulas and checkboxes. As you all know, feminist movement has created impact, and how much impact, that is a debatable question, but it has created impact. And when it has created impact, state was forced to make some uh, policies or some formulas or some check boxes through where they want that women should get some women representation should be higher, or there are the other platform. Okay, so this is also understood in the discourse of state feminism. So when we talk about the state feminism, it is basically talking about how state make policies for the woman. And so it began with the giving political representation of women, then through giving affirmative action in the jobs. There are a few states who have taken it. And then we also know that also the reservation or affirmative action we have seen in the legislature and the local bodies or in the 73rd Amendment. Okay. So there are different ways. So first way I can you can say the different check boxes. The first check boxes I talk about the how they have been given, affirmative action has been given in the jobs, and some states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, they have taken the initiative, and the reservation is there. Okay. So the third way I'm trying to see that what can be the other check boxes which state have taken initiative when we talk about the state feminism. So I'm discussing here the policies. Uh, One policy I've always considered, because it is also very important, about the access of resources, how women should have access of resources, and how that access of resources will help to have a power and influence, okay, and also have authority, either the power and influence inside in a private sphere or in the public sphere. So this channel I can talk about where women should have the land ownership, okay. So as you know, there how the land can be distributed, there are three ways where the land is distributed. First, either the state take the initiative by distributing a land, which is very less actually. Only few states have taken the initiative, and that too this few women who are from the marginalized section, they don't have the land, so state took the initiative. One policy I can tell you which happened in Madhya Pradesh, where government took the initiative and the government land had been distributed. So one way of giving resources to the women is through the land. The second way of access to these resources is through the market. That is a market means, I'm not talking about market in the sense she go to the market or she buy the land. Very few can do that. But there is a policy that there are women, when they go to buy a land, and the registration charges are very free or less. Recently Jharkhand has this policy: if a woman buy a land or women buy any property, the registration will be free, so that way she can have control over the resources, okay. And then obviously the third very important is the changes in the inheritance laws. One, the 19 Hindu Succession Act 1955, uh, where women cannot inherit his father's property. But now when we know that Hindu Succession Act 2005, the woman now can access property, father property also. So if we look at all these attempts, okay, so land become an essential tool. And this is also a tool for empowerment. As in the earlier time, we have seen that earlier, when we say that anthropological, there was a study that at one time it is a tool for empowerment. When they don't have access to resources, it is also a tool of disempowerment. So control over land by men, when men control the land, they gives them economic access to market, their social access, such as their politics, community level governance, etc. So just look at their area of influence, their area of capturing the power. But when we look at this denial of ownership to the woman, it is basically, you know, that why this denial of ownership is there, because it becomes a significant tool of patriarchy, and that patriarchy restrict women access to market and the social institution. So strengthening women access to and control over land is an important means of raising this status and influence, okay. So now, when we talk about women who have economic capital and in the form of ownership of land and also control of resources, are more likely to have decision making power in the home or in the decision making power in the outside, okay. So looking at this three state feminism or the policies, now the question arises whether these attempts by state helps to change the gender notion of power and authority. So all these, what I think, all these are the matter of inquiry. Because, but as I told you, I tried to cover this. I tried to engage myself and engage you with these three dimensions. One is the political representation, one is the economic, and another we talk about political, economic, and the other check boxes which is made by the state, so that women should have control over resources and also have access to power and influence. So none of this, I think, are adequate or sufficient means of bringing a change of transformation. So then what all steps we have to take? So I think whenever we talk about all this thing, and when the question of gender, power, and authority comes, uh, we cannot have all this step together, or rather we cannot have it in a piecemeal, so piecemeal fashion. But in a we have to be very committed in a way, along with several other measures, such as there are other, I think I'm trying to add few more things beside all this thing. What are the other things which are required to make more gender control over this power and authority, is like the way we want to questioning the status quo, where we should breaking the stereotyping of the division of labor, where we should engage with the idea of how personal is political. Then we can also talk about the how the criticality should be enriched. Then we can facilitate the ways and means of the empowerment. So this way might be we can question the we can break the notion of patriarchy within the family, or basically within the within the public sphere also. So basically what I'm trying to here try to put it that how this mechanism will help us to make us understand this concept of gender, power and authority, because power was always, as I told you earlier, is always controlled by one gender, that is a male. But if you want to come out or want the other sex also having the control, so these are the mechanism, ये mechanism जो state ने suggest किया, so that we can have at least women can have access to power and authority. Okay, now looking at all this mechanism, I am trying to understand, does it give the solution for everything? Obviously it is a I was left it with its open-ended question, how far it has been done. Because if today, if you ask me the question of political representation of women after the 73rd Amendment, is it very successful? Obviously, we can say that it is a very good initiative taken at the grassroots level, but representation is very less. Means is women is still a rubber stamp, or still or their power and influence is there. They have authority also, with power and authority they have in the panchayat, because every day when we read the cases, either in different states, the sometime it is a very the incidents are very horrific, and we can get the idea that it is just a policy, but how far the policy has been implemented, how far it has gone to the grassroots level, is sometimes questionable. Second, when I talk about the ownership of the land, the data shows that women still have, after the Hindu Succession of 1955 and the Hindu Succession, the changes in Succession Act of 2005, still women own the 2% of the land. Okay, so how is that mechanism, is the solution, or is that mechanism is able to question this gendered notion of power and authority? So I think I will try to end by this, that we still need to introspect, we still need to question that this mechanism need to be changed, or there are more policy which are required, or I will say that these are still a very piecemeal fashion, more commitment, or you can say other measures are required, so that this entire question of which is a gender gap is there in the authority, of gender gap is there by controlling political power or the power authority, or so basically this is need an introspection, so that we can think about more. And because there are other things which are, I also added how we will break the notion of patriarchy. This is a big challenge, and we all everyday life, every day we in our day-to-day life we do discuss these all issues, and um, and how this personal is political is always debatable, because these are the issues which always comes. So with this, I think I will end, because I will be more keen to take the questions, and I will stop here, and I hope I will be whatever question is there in your mind, I will try to answer it. I will stop here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for addressing all the vital, important dimensions of this topic. So on that note, I will request students to ask their questions. So one of the students have asked this question, Paridhi Saxena. Could you please kindly unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Paridhi.
Ma'am, you mentioned the movie Gunjan Saxena, for which there was a criticism regarding the same by a retired wing commander who actually had trained the first batch of these female pilots. And he claims that in no way there has ever been any sort of discrimination or like any form of sexist actions that have been shown in the movie towards any male or female in the Indian defenses. So can we say that sometimes the portrayal of women as victims is shown only to gain sympathy of the audience because that is what they want to see? The whole notion of empowerment is let down. Do you think it has become commercialized because that is what gains attention?
Okay. So you have watched the movie, Pariti?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
No, first you have watched when it was released and the controversy came later, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you watched the movie, what was your reaction?
Ma'am, obviously for the first time when I watched it, my notion was same as the others that maybe she had to face a lot of discrimination and struggles in her way.
Okay. But later when the controversy comes, your entire opinion got changed.
No, ma'am, because Gunjan Saxena herself claimed later that in no way she had faced this much discrimination.
Okay. So, okay, let me ask you a few questions because we are here dealing with gender power and authority. How do you put yourself as a woman in the Delhi? Have you ever discriminated?
Ma'am, I on a personal level have not been discriminated as such as
Okay.
I feel others might have, but not for me.
Okay. Okay. So why am I asking? Because we both come from the same fraternity. Okay. And day to day life, you will see that women do face discrimination. And let's take a very basic example. Why metro train have a special coach for the woman? Okay. Does it have any logic behind it?
Ma'am, it is basically for the safety purposes.
Is safety is the only reason, or there is other reason behind it?
Ma'am, I see it as a safety purpose rather than anything else, like safety being the topmost.
Okay. Okay, let's consider this safety. Why safety? Why it is related to women? The concept of safety is there. Why it is not related to men?
Ma'am, because men have held this power and authority in our society, in our patriarchal society, where they don't have to think twice before leaving their houses, whereas women have to. And I think this is society which has constructed us in a way that, okay, you need this special coach to keep yourself safe because no man can enter it.
You answer my question. You know that. So, what had happened is, as I told you, the concept of gender is basically what? When there is I gave you the also example of Prime Minister of India, first woman Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi. And also, I also deliberately take the example of Mayawati also. I try to cover caste and class both. If I just take a class, that is, obviously Indira Gandhi come from a very strong background. But if I take, when I take the example of Mayawati, she's also come from her background is different because I have taken caste as an example. But do you think the political and social construct which they both have, the other women of India do have the same situation? Why then Hathras has happened? Why then Nirbhaya has happened? Have you ever thought about it?
No, yes, that really holds a vast difference because not everyone gets the same treatment as they do.
Yes. So the concept of this power, authority, influence, you know that how it's not like Indira Gandhi was considered to be an iron lady, right? Very strong woman, right? Even Mayawati is considered to be one of the biggest states. She was a chief minister. Okay. So we have to understand the gender notion accordingly like that. Okay. And I'm telling you, me and you, we are still in Delhi, better position. Okay. But let's not take Delhi as India. And if you look at the example of the other areas, their social and political construction is very different. Okay, so they cannot come into that position to fight for themselves. There are so many other problems. So that's why when we are here, we are talking about how this entire public place was captured only by the men. Okay, and they had the power and the authority, and they have always influenced. Okay, even I think when I started my lecture, I started this entire philosophical foundation by the two philosophers who have always segregated both the sex. They have differentiated both the sex. So that narrative, that mindset we always find. And that's why this, even our state, sometimes we always say our state is very masculine. Why our state is very masculine? You know that because whatever the policies and everything made by the state, it is from their point of view. If our state wouldn't have been masculine, we wouldn't have this any problem. It is by just, I give you the example of how feminist movement have pressurized, have forced, when the concept of state feminism came, and in 1987 this was coined, only that the policies should be made. I'm not telling that the entire national scheme should be like that, so that at least some policy should be made which will be giving them a space in the political, and that's why the entire that personal is political. The entire debate is always there. If you don't keep that in forefront, your issue will not be solved. So now coming back to that Gunjan Saxena thing, the issue is there, that because the entire colleagues of Gunjan Saxena have make it very clear. Maybe, listen, one thing is very clear, when you have to, आपको जब हवाई जहाज उड़ाना है, तो आपको women और men के body से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Your physics should be strong too, so that you can fly, right? So, but they said we will not obey your order just because you are a woman. So that itself is something, just being a woman, you have been questioned, okay? So these are the things which is sometimes we need to understand how then at where male have the power and where women have to go there, and then we have to where we have to influence them and they have to prove themselves. This all concept were discussed there, okay? So I'm not going into the controversy because that is a different thing. It is a movie which tried to show us the discrimination which has happened, okay? And that discrimination need to be discussed from the gender point of view. Why it has happened? Because male considered that they can only fly, women cannot fly, so she can only fly, and other gender cannot do that. That was basically the objective of that movie, according to me. And that basically we were discussing, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
So our next question is by Nandini Dogra. So she asks, what are your views on power and authority in the public sphere with respect to the trans community, especially in the employment and job sector?
Okay. What's her name?
Nandini Dogra.
Okay.
Nandini Dogra.
Okay, Nandini. A good question, Nandini. I do agree. When I discuss this feminist movement, one thing which I always think that that we have to enhance our feminist movement, okay? And when we have to enhance our feminist movement, they should include, because women as an identity is always, threatened in the sense they were always never considered at par with the men. If one identity is threatened, there are similar identity in our society. Either it is a lesbian, either it is LGBTQ, there are different identities with it. So to make this movement strong, I always considered that feminist movement should include everything. And that with the inclusion of everybody, the fighting for different issues, their issues can also be taken into consideration. And when we talk about the affirmative action in the job, I do consider it is required. And if you remember recently, 2-3 examples in Indian state also, I think in Kerala, and even in the internationally, we have seen somewhere they have been given a political position so that they can keep their rights, they can demand for their community, and what type of measures state can be taken so that their community should also secure with their identity. So I think what you said, I agree with it, and I want to include only one thing, that feminist movement should include all this identity, because if the woman as an identity is not threatened, so other identities which are threatened should be part of the feminist, so the movement will be stronger and their issue will also be considered and be kept in front of the state. Okay, Nandini. Okay. Other question, Akriti?
Yes, ma'am. So, Gagandeep Ahuja, I request you to unmute yourself and please ask your question. Gagandeep, I think your audio is not proper. I may ask your question on behalf of you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, you're now audible.
Okay, yes, actually there's some background noise. Okay, okay, thank
I think her voice is gone again.
Yeah, so yeah,
Can you read out her question?
yeah, sure. So she asks, is it often seen that when the land is registered, it is done on the woman's behalf, but in reality, women do not have any real control over the land? Why do women fail to realize that they can have the authority and ownership of for real?
Okay, got it. Okay, Gagandeep, good question. Okay, so now, you know how our society governs. Now, let me tell you another thing. When we talk about the state feminism, and when we talk about these economic resources, so when land is distributed, okay, no, not, sorry, there are three ways where land can be distributed. As I told you, first is where state distributed. When state is distributing land, there is not much problem because state land is only distributed, so there is not much problem in it. But it hardly this policy is there now because only I remember few states have done it. So now your question is that when the land is registered in her name, now it all depends, because mostly, you know, in India these days what had happened, even the land is registered, how much of ownership the data shows there are 2% of women who have a ownership of the land. So my question is, land register क्यों कराया जाता है? There is another policy, if you register the land in woman name, the tax बचता है, right? Tax rebate you get, okay? And in reality, because if you do that tax thing, automatically who will be the beneficiary? You know that, okay? Secondly, in reality, women do not have real control of the land because there again, the land is always considered as a source of prestige and power. Okay, so do you think the other sex will give this prestige and power and control to the partner or to the woman? So what had happened is, that's why this ownership of land is always very less when it compared to men and women. Okay, in spite of the Hindu Succession Act of 2005, where it is said that woman can inherit both the lands, means either from father property or whatever property if she buys, if she has that capability. So why she's failed to realize that? Because that need that for example, she needs that empowerment of that it is my property and I should use it. Because when you are talking about land, I hope you are trying to talk about the agriculture land, if I'm not wrong. uh, uh, Even the Punjab, it's one of the agricultural land, but how many women own the land, it itself is questionable. So most of the men, I told you, land is very much connected to that prestige and power, and that nobody want to share this prestige and power with the other sex. So that's why what happened, they try to control the entire land as a resources, and automatically when they are controlling, they will have a more authority, they will have a more control over it. And this way what had happened, women never realizes that if their name is also there, if they try to control, they will have a more access to market, they will have more access to other institution, either it is a social institution, either it is a political institution. So that realization should come from the women. What had happened, state try to help women through the policies, but the how far that policy is there, how they are questioning that patriarchy, and how they are questioning and challenging that patriarchy is basically a task. And that need to be we always question that, how they question that, and how that they break the notion of patriarchy is very important. I hope you are getting my point, Gagandeep.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am, for answering the question.
Okay.
Yeah, so ma'am, Latika Kaushik has raised her hand. Latika, could you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
गुड इवनिंग मैम।
Good evening, Latika. Yes.
मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि अब जबकि महिलाओं को काफ़ी अधिकार मिल चुके हैं राजनीति में भी, तब भी हम ये देखते हैं कि पार्लियामेंट में बहुत कम महिलाएं होती हैं। मतलब महिलाओं का जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन वो अभी भी बहुत कम है। तो मैम क्या इसके पीछे केवल जेंडर बेस्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन एक कारण है, या फिर और कुछ सोशल कारण भी हैं, कुछ सोशल रीजंस भी इसके साथ जुड़ जाते हैं जिसके कारण वो बहुत कम रिप्रेजेंट कर पाते हैं? और मैम अगर ऐसा है तो अभी भी क्या उनको रिजर्वेशन चाहिए या और राइट्स होने चाहिए? मतलब हम कैसे अभी भी उनका रिप्रेजेंटेशन बढ़ा सकते हैं?
Okay. Thank you, Latika. देखो, हमेशा रिजर्वेशन को किस तरीके से देखा जाता है ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है। हम रिजर्वेशन को ये क्यों समझते हैं कि वो हैंडीकैप्ड है इसलिए उसको सहारा देना है? हाँ, अगर हैंडीकैप्ड है तो सहारा देने की जरूरत है, और अगर स्टेट रिजर्वेशन दे रहा है तो मुझे नहीं लगता इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है। ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड। अगर हम डेटा देखते हैं, चलो हम डेटा 1947 से शुरू करते हैं, वहां से आज तक पार्लियामेंट में सिर्फ 11% वुमेन है, 11% वुमेन है। अब ये सवाल उठता है कि 11% क्यों है? ऑब्वियसली इसके पीछे बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग एक पेट्रियार्की भी है। ये पेट्रियार्की का जो इतिहास रहा है, जो मैं तुम्हें प्लेटो एंड एरिस्टोटल के टाइम से बताने वाली। एरिस्टोटल ने तो साफ कह ही दिया था कि आप पॉलिटिकल पार्टिसिपेशन आपका हो ही नहीं सकता है, बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव दैट रैशनल आप पॉलिटिकली पार्टिसिपेट करते हो। अब उसके बाद से हम जब फिर मेडिवल एरा में आते हैं, फिर मॉडर्न में आते हैं, तो जैसे हम मॉडर्न स्टेट आते हैं, जिस दिन से कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ राइट ड्यूटीज आ रहा है, और उसके बाद भी बहुत दिनों बाद जब हम एक आंदोलन करते हैं, तब स्टेट को झंझोरा जाता है, और तब स्टेट को लगता है कि एक सेक्स कहीं ना कहीं पीछे रह जा रहा है। और जो पीछे रह जा रहा है, तो व्हाट वी हैव टू डू इज वी हैव टू पुल देम। और उस when you have to pull them, the state has a certain mechanism how state can help you through policy. तो ये एक affirmative action का एक policy था where they want to pull them, and obviously 1973rd amendment और 73rd amendment भी एक initiative लिया गया था जिससे उनका एक visibility बढ़े public sphere में। अगर जब तक आपकी visibility नहीं रहेगी तो automatically 49% अगर वुमेन है तो वो कहाँ है, तो वो विजिबिलिटी बढ़ता है, और उस विजिबिलिटी जब आप पब्लिक स्फीयर को कैप्चर करते हैं तो उसके बाद क्या होता है, आप फिर एक स्टेप और आगे बढ़ते हो। तो ये एक स्टेप माना गया था कि एक तरीका है, और ये एफर्मेटिव एक्शन के थ्रू ये इनिशिएटिव लिया जा सकता है। अब अगर ये क्वेश्चन हो जाए कि जब हम इक्वल समाज की बात करें, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ये क्वेश्चन ही अपने आप में एक अनकंफर्टेबल क्वेश्चन है, क्या इक्वल रहे अभी तक हम? अगर हम इक्वल नहीं रहे तो क्यों नहीं रहे, और अगर हम इक्वल नहीं रहे तो इसका कारण क्या रहा है? क्या पितृसत्ता हमारा समाज रहा है? अगर पितृसत्ता समाज रहा है तो पितृसत्ता समाज शुरू कहां से हुआ? इज इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम आवर फैमिली, और इज इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम सम अदर प्लेस? सो फर्स्ट वी हैव टू डायग्नोज दैट प्रॉब्लम, एंड हाउ विल यू डायग्नोज दैट प्रॉब्लम? एवरी डे, if you have heard feminist, all these scholars, Kamala Bashir and all, they all talk about how we have to change this. Why do we always call that changing of the stereotyping of thinking is very important? और change, ऐसा नहीं कि change नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन it's very slow, the pace is very slow. One prime minister of India doesn't mean that the entire India has changed. Still the rape cases are happening. Why this is the rape? And you know, the entire psychology of rape is all about showing your power of men towards women, because when you give your power and control her body, that gives the satisfaction. Okay, so that I being a man is controlling her body. So when we talk about all this, where is the question that where we talk about equal? We do talk about equal. उस equal को लाने के लिए तो push की जरूरत है, और वो push तभी होगा जब एक आपको कहीं ना कहीं एक टूल दिया जाएगा। तो हम उस रिजर्वेशन को एक टूल की तरह यूज करके उनका विजिबिलिटी बढ़ाइए, उनको पब्लिक प्लेस में आने दीजिए, और पब्लिक प्लेस में जिस दिन आएंगे ऑटोमेटिकली एक पावर, इन्फ्लुएंस, अथॉरिटी का जो हमारा एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो or control. They have control over the power, they will also have the authority. So I think we have to understand in this discourse that why even we talk about the equal, but they are not equal, but we have to push them to make them equal, and reservation is one of the tools to help them to become equal, and then only we can have an equal society. I think I look reservation in that.
इसके अलावा ऐसे कौन कौन से टूल्स हो सकते हैं जिनसे हम महिलाओं को आगे पुश कर सकते हैं?
ओके, स्टेट, जैसे ही मैंने अभी बात किया स्टेट फेमिनिज्म की, जब मैंने बात की उसमें स्टेट को पॉलिसीज बनाना पड़ेगा, मतलब स्टेट को ऐसे पॉलिसीज बनाना पड़ेगा जिसमें आपको उस जेंडर को आपको पुश करना पड़ेगा। जैसे मैंने एक पॉलिसी बनाया कि ऑब्वियसली जॉब्स का मैंने बताया, अफर्मेटिव एक्शन, मैंने बताया कि रिसोर्सेज दो इनको, बिकॉज जिस दिन इकोनॉमिक कैपिटल आपके पास स्ट्रांग होगा ऑटोमेटिकली आपका सोशल और पॉलिटिकल कैपिटल भी आप स्ट्रांग होगा। वो सोशल मतलब इकोनॉमिक के साथ सोशल और आपका पॉलिटिकल कैपिटल जुड़ा हुआ है। इन तीनों रिसोर्सेज को अगर आप साथ मिलाएंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली वो एक पावरफुल और एक अथॉरिटी और इन्फ्लुएंस के साथ काम कर पाएंगे और विजिबिलिटी भी उनका रहेगा। तो एक एग्जांपल मैंने दिया रिजर्वेशन, दूसरा मैं बोलूँ कि आप उनको रिसोर्सेज दीजिए, उनको दिन उनके रिसोर्सेज के उनका
ओके थैंक यू।
ओके,
so the next person is Arshpreet Kaur. Kindly please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am.
good evening Arshpreet.
Ma'am, myself Arshpreet from Political Science Department, third year.
Okay.
So, ma'am, you have talked about Plato and Aristotle. So, I have a question, not a question, just make me correct if I'm getting it wrong.
Okay.
So, somehow we have derived or like continuing their legacy of what they thought of what power should be, what politics should be. Like women are not rational enough to participate in political spheres. So somehow we have derived that thing, and somehow like the society is now ऐसे constitute हुई है जो patriarchal है.
हाँ, उन्होंने अब देखो ना आयरनी क्या है, जब ऑब्वियसली यू आर अ पॉलिटिकल साइंस स्टूडेंट, आई एम पॉलिटिकल साइंस टीचर, आयरनी है जो हमें ये कह रहा है, जो कि फादर है पॉलिटिकल साइंस का, अगर वो ये कह रहा है कि आप वुमेन में वो रैशनैलिटी है ही नहीं, वुमेन हमेशा इंफीरियर है, फिर भी हम वेस्टर्न पॉलिटिकल फिलॉसफी में उनको पढ़ते हैं। और दूसरी बात, वो जो फाउंडेशन उन लोगों ने क्रिएट किया, नो डाउट वो फाउंडेशन को एक्सपोज किया गया, फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट ने इनिशिएटिव लिया और उन्होंने जितने भी पॉलिटिकल फिलोसोफर्स थे, इधर इट इज मैकियावेली, इधर इट इज रूसो, सबको उन्होंने एक्सपोज किया बाय सेइंग दैट हाउ देयर नोशन वाज basically how the notion of their looking at the concept of women or gender was so different, not only different, it was like startling for us. हमें वो कहीं ना कहीं अचंभा कर देता है कि how do they look at these inside, how do they look at the concept of women, their issues, and their issues were never kept it in the public. Okay, either it is a concept of justice, even when we discuss about this Rawls theory of justice, you remember where is the concept of justice and the gender issues were not considered. So तुम्हारा जो क्वेश्चन है मैं उसी को बोल रही हूँ कि यस, यही नैरेटिव क्रिएट हुआ, लेकिन इस नैरेटिव को तोड़ने में फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट का बहुत बड़ा हाथ है, जो 1960s की जब भी हम बात करते हैं, उन्होंने एक्सपोज किया और उन्होंने बोला कि किस तरह के वेस्टर्न फिलोसोफर्स ने कैसे एक फाउंडेशन जो क्रिएट किया था, वो फाउंडेशन कहीं ना कहीं थियोरेटिकली वुमेन को हमेशा वर्थ समझा ही नहीं, बहुत ही अनवर्दी समझा, इसीलिए वुमेन को स्पेस ही नहीं दिया। बट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट उस पर्सनल को पॉलिटिकल बनाने की जरूरत है, और जिस दिन आप पर्सनल को पॉलिटिकल बनाएंगे ऑटोमेटिकली उसके इश्यूज बाहर आएंगे, और उसके जब इश्यूज बाहर आएंगे तो उनके इश्यूज को डील किया जाएगा, और देन दे विल हैव अ पावर, दे विल हैव द अथॉरिटी। ओके
मैम, तो somehow पर्सनल इज पॉलिटिकल ना, लाइक जो भी मैरिज लॉज होते हैं वो स्टेट डिसाइड करता है कि मैरिज की एज ये होनी चाहिए, तो प्राइवेट इज somehow like influenced by politicals there, na?
No. No. Question is, when the issues are not there in the state, then we talk about that. कुछ चीज को आप पर्सनली रख देते हो. अगर स्टेट इंटरफेयर कर रहा है तो फिर आप उसका वो पॉलिटिकल बन जाता है. जैसे मैरिज लॉज बन रहा है तो मतलब स्टेट का इंटरफेरेंस हुआ और उस पर्सनल को पॉलिटिकल बनाया गया. ठीक है. अगर स्टेट का इंटरफेरेंस नहीं होता डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस में तो वो हमेशा पर्सनली रह जाता. स्टेट ने उसमें इंटरफेयर करके उसको पॉलिटिकल बनाया, स्टेट के सामने लाया और स्टेट ने उस पे लॉज बनाया. तब क्या हुआ, पर्सनल को उसने पॉलिटिकल बनाया. इट मींस दैट. एम आई क्लियर?
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
So we'll take just two last questions before we wrap up. So Akriti, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, sure. So there is Shraddha Sharma who has raised her hand. Kindly please unmute yourself and ask your question.
See, another question by Shreya Singh. It's a very long question.
Yes, ma'am. So I asked her before because she raised her hand first. So.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Shraddha.
So, ma'am, my question is that what is the role of family in the women's life, especially in the context of power? Because if अगर हम मायावती के एग्जांपल देते हैं तो she is unmarried. मतलब मुझे लगता है कि फैमिली एक बैरियर की तरह है जिससे हमें सबसे पहले लड़ना है और उसके बाद हम आगे जाके लड़ेंगे. तो फैमिली के मतलब इस पर आप थोड़ा बताएंगे कि फैमिली किस तरीके से हमारे स्किल्स को सबसे पहले वही खत्म करने की कोशिश करती है.
राइट. पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पेट्रियार्की तो फैमिली से ही शुरू होता है. अब एक फैमिली इंदिरा गांधी की भी फैमिली है और एक फैमिली ऑब्वियसली एक मायावती की भी फैमिली, बट यहाँ पे कास्ट एंड क्लास में दोनों लाने की कोशिश करो. एक फैमिली वो है जहां पर दे नेवर थॉट ऑफ दैट वुमेन शुड गेट एक्सपोजर, वुमेन शुड गेट एजुकेशन, वुमेन शुड गो आउटसाइड. इस तरह के भी फैमिली होते हैं. अब क्वेश्चन ये होता है कि ये सारे इस तरह के आइडियाज आते कैसे. ये सब कहीं ना कहीं पेट्रियार्की है. पेट्रियार्की मतलब व्हेन a structure of the family think that one sex is not so important and another sex is very important. So because that the head of the family will decide that, and who is that head of the family? Mostly a family में क्या होता है, head of the family men decide करता है कि women should get this, men should not get this, property इसको जाना चाहिए, property इसको नहीं जाना चाहिए. बस कुछ जगह obviously legal आजकल है policies, आप property सब नहीं दे सकते. अगर बेटे को पूरा भी जाएगा तो बेटी का कंसेंट होना चाहिए तभी वो भाई को जा सकता है. Now the rule has changed, but obviously family is the first institution. As we all know, it is the first school. School जाने से पहले family पहला school होता है where we learn so many things. So obviously the barriers, women has to fight a lot from one school to go to another school. So that school can only be changed when there is a how do you change it? Because if you ask me, how many fathers are the feminist fathers? We can always question ourselves. Does your father is a very feminist? Does feminist doesn't mean that कि मैं ये नहीं बोल रही कि सर वुमेन के लिए कर दो. अगर हम एक इक्वल समाज की बात करते हैं, फीमेल बोल रही है कि आप फेमिनिस्ट हमेशा ये बोलती है कि वुमेन के कैपेबिलिटी को भी एक रिकॉग्निशन मिलने की जरूरत है. जिस दिन वुमेन के कैपेबिलिटी को रिकॉग्निशन मिल जाएगा ऑटोमेटिकली आपका समाज इक्वल है. वो कैपेबिलिटी को ही तो रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करते हैं ना. और वो रिकॉग्निशन का सबसे पहला आपका स्कूल है वो फैमिली. The day family will recognize that you as a woman, you as a girl have capability, वहीं से तुम्हारा रास्ता आसान है. लेकिन जिस दिन वो recognition ही नहीं होगा and society has created their own construction and that construction रहेगा तो automatically obstacle होगा. So that need have to be changed and it takes lots of time to change also. Yes, but patriarchy within the family is a very important thing and it needs to be questioned. Stereotyping जो सोच है that need all to be questioned. Criticality करना पड़ेगा. Critical और dialogue ही I think is the first process. Even with your father, even with your all the institution, if you don't be critical, if you don't question, nothing will happen. Yes.
So, ma'am, the next question is from Shreya Singh. She asks, as we know the concept of double discrimination, where we discriminate one class in order to help the other class. So in the present scenario where the government is providing reservation to women, which is obviously for their empowerment. For instance, women don't need to pay the registration fee while filling the form for government jobs. So do you think we are doing double discrimination to men, and it's unfair for those men who aren't economically well off to pay the registration fees, whereas girls who can afford don't need to pay? What's your say on this?
Okay. So basically, here you are talking about two class. One class who has the economy, and one class who don't have the economy. And class, and then you are talking about either it is a girl, either it is a boy. Okay, girl, even she is well-to-do, but she is getting a concession in the registration fee, and the boy who is basically is poor, economically not well-to-do, but have to pay the registration fee. So basically, I think she's trying. What Shreya is trying to say. How will I? What I have to say on this. So now EWS has also come, Shreya. Now, how do you look at this economically weaker section? It is there for the upper caste also. That's why this government has given a reservation. Entire concept of the reservation which Dr. Ambedkar has thought about it, it was on the when we are socially and educationally backward. But now the new criteria of backwardness which was decided is that if you're economically backward, so economically backward, either you can be the upper caste. So EWS is there. So registration fees, लड़के का जो है, अगर वो economically backward है, उसको नहीं देना पड़ेगा fees. Did you understand this?
Shall I say something, ma'am?
Yeah.
So, ma'am, but criteria of EWS is also 8 lakhs per year.
Yeah. तो अब class के साथ आपको class के साथ आपको इतना कितने listen when we are talking about the class, okay, so they are upper class, right? So actually these are the policies which government have made, okay? So government need to decide that how do you make it that an upper class 8 lakh के नीचे वाले गरीब होंगे. These are something very I can say very technical glitches. We always have this question. So even if you ask me how they have decided, it itself is, I don't have an answer, because what we have understood till now that you give your entire entire understanding of the affirmative action is about the social and educational backward. Economic was never a criteria. But today, for example, today you are very poor, and tomorrow you got a job and you become economically well-to-do. So do you think the reservation that will allow? So this is still a very debatable and controversial issue. We always discuss all these issues when we talk about the concept of social justice. Okay, so this 8 lakh thing, these are something government has decided. Okay, so if you ask me why government has decided this 8 lakh, it itself, why not 5 lakh? 8 lakh क्यों किया? 10 lakh भी कर सकता था. So this is something which government need to answer, and because I am not into that give the exact why they have done it and why this class and between one having the money and one don't have the money, I can only say that there is women have been given this only because of their because women have been marginalized for so many years, and so she can go ahead and have access to the resources, access to have education, and that's why that registration fee has been decreased. Men always have that privilege. Okay, so if you want to have to create an equal society, you need to, man is already, you have to push women. So these are the basically incentive given. कि किसी का registration fee माफ गवर्नमेंट ने किया, registration fee माफ कर, but इसमें अगर men को हम लाके बोलेंगे कि वो गरीब है, so I think then we have to understand the government has taken the policy of EWS, and then we have to see that criteria. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So we don't have any further questions. So on that note, we will wrap up our first segment. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such detailed insights on this topic. It was a great learning experience for us, and we look forward to more such knowledgeable sessions from your side in future as well. A heartfelt thanks for your kind presence, Dr. Pooja Rani, ma'am. Students, may please kindly informed. We will start with our next segment on religion, identity, politics, and and gender in a couple of few minutes. So I request you all to be ready. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Pooja, ma'am, for being here. It was really very nice to hear you and learn so much from you. And we look forward to have you for more such sessions. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you so much, Lokesh, sir, for being here and